Line Books present the audiobook of Overpopulation, the hidden agenda for global reset. Episode 4, African Century. Scene 1, the Berghof, Bavaria. Gaspare Vitellius had made $1 billion signing Italian companies up to China's Belt and Road Initiative. For a 34-year-old, he was doing very well for himself. Short and stocky, yet stylish, he was a shameless narcissist who could succeed in anything he put his mind to. A recent introduction to the fermenting sensation that was Mamadou Diop had put his mind to work on how he might exploit her. He had often pictured himself standing alongside Hitler and Mussolini on the outdoor plaza of the Berghof. The view over the Bavarian mountains was ideal for making an impression, one that had never failed with his Chinese clients. But would it impress Mamadou? Tall and glamorous, she towered over Vitellius as she admired the view in silence. A charismatic Blasian with straight black hair and pale skin, she had been born in Abuja's most ritzy suburb, first touching fame as a teenage YouTuber before blossoming into the most outspoken netizen of her generation. With Chigro good looks and a guarded tongue, she became a role model for teenagers from Africa to Asia. There was even a popular computer game named after her by Urban Rebel. As they admired the scenery of the Austro-German border, Vitellius wove his magic. "Here's the deal. You commit Nigeria's state funds to take over West Africa Water Incorporated, and we will control the whole of West Africa. Nothing happens without water. In return, we will educate a best university in Italy, Milano, Torino, Pisa, Roma, and of course, the oldest university in the world, Bologna." Vitellius placed a cupped hand on Mamadou's buttock. "Together we will transform your country, put Nigeria front and center of the African dawn." His words were music to her ears, if not his wandering hands. And though he did not know it, she was far more ambitious than he could ever be. His European privilege could not see beyond money. She came from Africa's most populous country, Nigeria, a proud nation of nearly 600 million. Her ambition was to fundamentally change the world, in a way Europeans could never understand. It was her destiny. Vitellius sneaked a look at Mamadou. She remained cool, like a statue, and though he hated himself for feeling that way, he wanted desperately to embody her physical presence. She had inherited her height and athletic frame from her father, a Nigerian engineer. "You are a magnificent." He could not help himself from squeezing her buttock. She turned slowly to look down on him, but as was her temperament, inherited from her mother, a trailblazing Chinese financier who had overseen China's state enterprise in Africa, she gave nothing away, until she snapped and slapped his cheek with the palm of her hand. Hard. "Don't ever do that again." Vitellius shook his head, slightly disorientated. She had copped him good, and all he could do was laugh. "Wow! Hey, Mamadou, I love your spirit." His levity did nothing for her mood. But Vitellius, being Vitellius, leapt back into sales mode and continued as if nothing had happened. "Think of it, Mamadou. As Africa comes of age, Nigeria, with you as president, will control it all." "You forget I am not a politician." "Don't worry. Vitelli gonna change that." He clicked his fingers at passing staff. "If you can do that, Nigeria will thank you, and I will be very happy." "You will be the next leader of Nigeria." Staff laid out 2 shots of coffee from a platter. "I know you have a very good coffee in Nigeria, but per favore, try this. It is Aiello from Calabria, my favorite." Mamadou sipped. "I like this coffee. It is very good for Nigeria." The deal was done. Scene 2. Eaton Square Gardens, Belgravia. They took the stretch Bentley to Lord Martin's Belgravia pad, a fully staffed 5-storey Georgian terrace. The weather was uncommonly pleasant for the time of year, and upon arrival they stood on the penthouse terrace, overlooking the private gardens of Belgravia. The lord slumped into a chair. His whole body appeared to mould to the arms. "I don't want to die." His mouth shuddered uncontrollably. "Please, Philip." The translucent skin of his hands, as grey as a branch from a dead tree, hooked over Banks's arm. "Don't let me die," he sobbed. "My lord." Banks was familiar with the performance. "The professor wants me dead. They all do." The old man's head turned from side to side, as if he had lost where he was. "Death comes to us all. Why? Oh, why?" More scared than anything, Banks laid his hands on top of the lord to reassure him. "You're not going to die?" The effect was immediate. "You're right, I'm not." And on the flip of a coin, he returned to his usual bravado. "Philip, I need you in Abuja." He stood tall and indomitable. "There is a meeting of the Federation of African Nations. I would like you to keep an eye on the Nigerians. They are the key to West Africa. With African dawn, we are taking on the Chinese, and I do not intend to lose." Banks was stunned and couldn't think of what to say. "Well, man, snap out of it." Lord appeared to have lost 140 years. "My lord, should I bring Billy in on this?" "No. You will meet Miss Tuppence. She is my great-great-great-great-granddaughter. Now, let us indulge in a cigar." Banks was trying to quit cigars. "Tell me, how is our Warwick's deal coming along?" "We are being outbid by Vitellius. I wish we could make him disappear." "Good heavens! What kind of language is that? We are bankers, not murderers." Lord Martin opened his cigar box and offered it to Banks, who selected one and rolled it beneath his nostrils. The lord produced his Lord Kitchener lighter, the only Simon Tissot Dupont lighter ever made from rhodium. Lord Martin had commissioned it and gifted it to Lieutenant General Bernard Montgomery in October 1942 after his victory at the Second Battle of El Alamein, North Africa. After his death, he had purchased it from the family, and so now it lit Banks's cigar. "Did you see this morning's news?" "What news?" "India." Lord Martin strode back indoors, sucking on his cigar. He waved his fingers, and a screen on the wall came to life. Boom, boom. Pulsating music blared from the walls. "This is Idris Madaki for the BBC. Tonight, Delhi is shut down, airports closed, and all major routes subject to a military-style quarantine. Head of Health and Social Affairs Kanaki Sajdeva warns that rates of infection are now immeasurable. With the death toll at 68,000 and rising, the virus is thought to have spread to Rajasthan. Up to 60 million are on the move, attempting to escape the infection." The screen showed a highway leading from Delhi covered with people as far as the eye could see, walking with their possessions. Virologists state that the virus is being carried by a superabundance of mosquitoes, the result of global warming. Britain, Europe, and the USA have offered assistance, while neighbours Pakistan, Kashmir, Nepal, Bangladesh and China have all closed their borders. Lord Martin waved his hand and the screen went blank. Banks was stunned. "I was there 2 days ago." "Well, at least India will meet its targets." 20 minutes later, The coffee table was loaded with bottles of scotch, some as old as the Lord himself. "Unlike wine, whisky never deteriorates. Take this beautiful bruletish black art." Lord Martin picked up a black bottle covered in Luciferian symbology and poured 2 drams from it. Lady Elizabeth burst into the room. "Why am I married to you, you overgrown ogre?" She was drunk. Lord Martin looked shaken. "Not now, my dear." "You dear me," she sobbed. "Why am I married to someone as old as a tree? I should have married a man, a young man. Oh, Philip." "Ignore her, she'll go away." "I heard that. I am not insane. I am just a delicate little Guillaume Virag, so precious. I am sick and tired of being Elizabeth. Why can't I be Boglava? I am Hungarian, not English. You. And she made a dramatic pose, holding her arm up in front of her face. Maid rushed in, tinkling a bell. "It's for you, my lady." She held a phone. "Oh?" Lady Elizabeth feigned the whimper of a wounded child. "Who is it?" "Countess Fortescue, my lady. Asking about the flower arrangements." "Ah!" Her tone reverted to a bright and positive. "Splendid! Kindly inform the Countess that I will call her back in 5. "Yes, ma'am." Maid left. The door closed, and the melodrama continued. "Nobody loves me. How I yearn to be held in the arms of a man. I'm dying from lack of love." "If it's a man you're wanting," began Lord Martin softly. "Not you. Another man. A real man. One who wasn't born before the invention of the motor car." Lady Elizabeth walked over to the curtains, grasped them in both hands, and yanked at them with all her might. "Yah! Yah! Please, darling, those curtains are precious." She tore the curtains to the floor, leaving their curtain track bent and hanging from the wall. Exhausted, she stopped to compose herself. "You had better be on your best behaviour tomorrow, when the Countess comes over for Ikebana. Do you hear me?" She stomped out of the room. Lord Martin gulped, after which they both sank into their whisky and sat in stunned silence. Banks put down his glass. "I hope you won't mind." Banks rose and left, leaving the Lord to sit alone and stare into space. Out on the street, Banks filled with his lungs. For all the problems of overpopulation, London's air was remarkably fresh. Electric vehicles, strategic parkland, and the vertical greening of buildings had helped to create one of the healthiest air qualities amongst super cities. He looked into the rectangular garden of Eaton Square, which was bathed in sunlight. 2 young girls ran after one another, giggling. Their nanny sat tapping on her phone. He admired her calves. She was a brunette, which reminded him of Zara, and how much he loved her beautiful silky black hair. Harrods wasn't far, so he decided to walk. Downstairs in the food hall he purchased a huge selection of produce he thought Zara might appreciate, too much to carry, so he arranged for home delivery, then caught a cab back to his suite at the Lancaster Gate Hotel. The next morning he awoke with a start. It was before dawn. He showered, brushed his teeth, then stood before his wardrobe. He would like to have slipped on his chocolate shirt, cream slacks, and topaz jacket, but chose a black shirt and silver 3-button herringbone single-breasted jacket instead. His cab dropped him off near St. Paul's, from where he walked off Sermon Lane to visit St. Nicholas Cole Abbey, a 17th-century church with fine stained-glass windows and a small coffee shop. Their barista did a good coffee, which Banks put down to their low volume of sales. He figured that busy coffee shops did not have the time to clean out the burnt grits between coffees, thereby creating an unpleasant burnt quality to their coffee, so he avoided coffee chains. With his takeaway cup, he strolled down to Millennium Bridge, where he paused to watch the river. Rich alluvial mud from Oxfordshire was being carried through London and out to sea. The narrow bridge was full of suits and skirts racing to make their schedule. Banks had never worked 9 to 5. His life was a continuous flow of meetings, travel and deals, a project-to-project existence with built-in urgency. He seldom visited his office, where his PA Leonie Vickers worked 9 to 5, although she was on call 24/7. What does she do when I'm away? He pictured her, sitting with her back to the view over the City of London, communicating with friends on social media perhaps. Or did she run some private operation? What a crazy game. He checked his phone. Idris was in India. Boom, boom. Normally crowded with tourists, there is not a soul around. Idris turned and began walking away from the Taj Mahal. Virologists say the virus is incapable of replicating itself and dying out as fast as it appeared, delivering hope to a nation that just 24 hours ago feared annihilation. This is Idris Madaki for the BBC, Rajasthan. Banks felt a weight off his shoulders. He had a flashback. Scene 3. Flashback. Brockhurst Park, 1998. He was 6 years old. On the bridge in the 100 Acres Wood. His father towered over him like a god. The memory was so redolent that he could see, hear and smell the texture of his father's jacket. He was being instructed on how to toss the stick. They threw the leafless branch into the oncoming water, then ran to the other side of the bridge. What seemed insanely simple now was then packed with cunning and strategy. The twig appeared beneath the other side of the bridge. Sodom. He released the grip on his coffee cup and watched a gust of wind from beneath the bridge make it spin and dance until it finally met with the Thames and dipped beneath her murky depths. He turned around. The bridge was crowded with commuters, a relentless march of stormtroopers. His stomach turned upside down. Blood drained from his brain, and his throat felt dry. The masses around him suddenly felt threatening, like they were sucking the very life from him. His respiratory system was struggling. He was 6 years old again, and fell on the bridge, in the oncoming path of their step. Stomp, stomp. They kept coming, an endless parade of Russian soldiers stomping on the bones of his 6-year-old frame. Stomp, stomp. He closed his eyes. The noise of the city returned. Clarity. He was a man again. Tall, angular, powerful. The masses on their way to work now seemed to dawdle. They were beaten Bolsheviks, a defeated army being force-marched to the gulags. Where do they all come from? He looked into the sky, grey and uninspiring. It was raining. Cold rain splattered on him. He turned up his collar and headed back towards St. Paul's and to the office. Leonie was surprised to see him. She greeted him with enthusiasm and held out a small package of notes and letters for him. "Your tickets. You'll be meeting the President on Thursday. The car is due in 10 minutes. "Thank you." Banks took the papers and turned into his office. Scene 4. 20 Birds in Queens, New York City.
"What is it, baby? Come on, tell me."
She stroked down his hair. Hey! His fingers danced over keys worn smooth from prolific use.
"You're unhappy, I can tell."
Her thick New York brogue was deployed with heavy cynicism. She reverted her attention to making coffee.
"You haven't complained for weeks, and baby, that ain't you."
He stopped typing and laughed derisively. "Can't a man be happy just for one day without your incessant psychoanalysis?" He picked up a slice of pizza from his plate and stuffed it into his mouth.
"Don't you gotta write that book of yours?"
"It's work, honey."
"Oh, please.
She stabbed her right arm on her hip.
You're the happiest man in Queens, and I don't like that. You hear me? I don't like it.
Just then, Persia the cat appeared at her ankles. She bent low to stroke his dark grey pelt. You wanted me happy? I'm not going back to... And old poison flooded his thoughts. Lord Martin, the shadows, the banksters. I'm working hard, honey. I'm doing regular shit. This piece gotta be out there by 3. Would you stop busting ass of mine?
Busting my ass, Mads. Busting my ass. How long you gotta live in New York to get it right?
Hey, all right, she conceded. The doorbell rang. Mads stopped chewing pizza. You got some water?
Who the hell is ringing the bell at this time of the day?
Water, I need water, this pizza's... Trina entered the living room with a coffee in her hand.
Oh, so now it's my cooking.
The bell rang a second time. She laid the coffee next to his notebook. Mads dropped what remained of his pizza onto his plate. Frozen.
Why you got against frozen pizza?
Nobody in Norway buys frozen pizza.
So now you Ruskies know all about pizza.
I'm Norwegian.
Same fucking difference, all snow and vodka.
Hey, watch that dirty mouth of yours.
Try to teach me in Italian about pizza.
Trina, you're not Italian.
On my mother's side.
Your name is called Trina. You're Albanian.
On my mother's side, I'm Italian. The Opedesanos.
The bell rang a third time. Trina disappeared into the kitchen.
Would you stop it and answer the door, Mads?
Mads sipped on his coffee to wash down the pizza, wiped his fingers on his trousers, then rose and headed for the front door. A glance through the spy hole revealed 3 men in dark suits, arranged in a triangle. Shit! He briefly envisaged hustling Trina out through the rear window and down the fire escape. Carefully, he slid the deadbolt across and threaded the internal chain from door to jamb, then went to the kitchen and made silent signals of alarm to Trina.
What?
Shh! He took her by the arm and marched her over to the rear window.
Is somebody after you?
Shh! Mads lifted the rear window, and as he did so, a loud crunch and splintering of wood came from the front door. Before he could climb out of the window, 3 men had appeared packing pistols. Stop! A short man in a grey suit, with tightly curled hair, stood before them. Behind him stood 2 heavy-set men in overcoats with barrels pointing at them.
Who are they?
Trina clung to Mads. Leave this to me, implored Mads. He held her hand and stood before the men. Their leader, the man with curly hair, scuffed his brown shoe against the floor. You know, you guys are not very neighborly. See, I wanted some sugar. You don't answer the door. He was chewing gum and spat out the side of his mouth. Bad. Very bad. He signaled his 2 associates to step forward and frisk them. Hey, get your fucking hands off me, demanded Trina. Honey, don't. Mads squeezed her arm to caution her.
I ain't scared of these trashy criminals.
Shut the fuck up. The leader emphasized his words by stabbing his black, leather-gloved fist in her direction. Mads squeezed on Trina's arm as hard as he could. You're a reporter, right? He moved over to the notebook and tapped on its keys. Nice. He chewed gum in silence. Who do you work for? NAFCA. NAFCA? North American Fruit Growers Association. I'm writing a piece on cherry crops in Washington State. And here I was thinking you were an idealist. Revolutionary. Glass the pact. Want to change the world. The man picked up Mads' computer, walked over to the window, and dropped it outside. They heard it smash against the stairwell as it fell 3 floors to the street. Consider yourself fired. He took the chewing gum from his mouth and put it on the table, then picked up the mug of coffee and sniffed at it. This yours? Mads nodded in the affirmative. Not bad. You make this, huh? He took a sip. Not bad. You're a lucky guy. She makes a good coffee. Just then, Persia walked into the room. The man put down the coffee and gently picked up the cat.
There you go.
He had an easy way with cats.
Strange thing. Every movie the baddie got a cat. What is that? Me? I love cats.
He stroked the cat with his ungloved hand.
Yours?
Mine, replied Trina.
You know what they say about cats? Like spies. You know what I mean?
What is it you want? Demanded Mads.
I'm here to offer you a job.
I don't need a job.
Don't need a job? What are you? You don't got rent to pay?
I pay my rent. The man looked at Trina, who scowled in return.
This your wife?
What's it to you? Snapped Trina. Shh! Mads turned to silence her, but she was having none of it.
Don't shush me. Who are these guys? What are they doing with these guns?
Trina! Snapped Mads, but it did not work.
Little boys with their toys. You got 2 seconds to shut your mouth up, woman, or I'll do it for you.
Trina, fucking hell, be quiet, please. She turned cool and dismissive.
Yeah, they ain't gonna do nothing.
Shut it, please, for God's sake, shut it.
Shall I show you how to shut a woman up?
The man held his arm up, with the cat between his gloved fingers, and squeezed. The cat squealed and thrashed about, until Trina leapt forward, screaming, "No!" She was taken down by a hard thump to the head by one of the men. She passed out on the floor. A scuffle ensued as Mads attempted to attack the henchman, only to find himself pinned against the wall, outpowered, with a steel barrel pressed into his cheek. The cat was released and escaped to the bedroom. Trina lay silent on the floor.
Quite a woman you got there. How about I take her for a ride?
No, what's the job? Snarled Mads.
The
man with curls splayed his hands and looked faintly disappointed.
We don't gotta get the pliers out.
He raised his glove, and the henchmen released their grip on Mads.
You do me a favor.
I leave you in peace.
Capiche?
Got it.
You go to Nigeria. You find the woman they call Mamadou, and report back to me, all right? That way, Missy here don't go missing.
The reporter's brain was already connecting the dots. He did not know who they were, but was certain who had sent them. He cursed his inquisitive mind, then stole his thoughts long enough to acknowledge the deal. I'll do it. The man with the curly hair picked up his chewing gum from the table, put it back into his mouth, then extracted a small, tubular package from his inside jacket pocket and laid it on the table.
Buds.
20. No sooner said than all three men retreated through the broken door and were gone. Mads dropped to the floor to resuscitate Trina. She came to with a throbbing pain at her temple. Half an hour later, they sat either side of their kitchen table with cold coffees in hand. Between them, on the table, lay a spiral of brown card and a stack of gold eagle coins. 20 ounces of gold bullion. They had already looked up how much it was worth. Trina turned her head from side to side.
You're not going.
Of course not, honey. The following morning, he left for Africa.